Hey, Bourbon Hunters. Welcome back to Bourbon Hunter Anonymous. Before we get into the chaos, if you missed them, check out my last videos Bourbon Market Crash or Correction and Allocated Bourbon Explained. Now, judging by your comments, emails, it's clear there's a lot of confusion out there. Like people are mixing up allocations with black magic level sorcery. So today we're going to slow things down, break it all apart, and get it straight one last time. First up, the vocabulary. Because if you don't know your barrels from your batches, you're already lost before the fun even starts. OND, October, November, December. This is typically the time of year that bourbon hunters come out of the woodwork. Old ones, new ones, beginners. It's when allocateds hit the hardest. Unicorn bottle. About what you expect. An allocated bottle, rarely seen in the wild. At cost. The price the store paid the distributor for the bottle. What it really means. The store makes little to no profit, usually offered to loyal customers, bundle deals, store picks, lotteries, often below MSRP on allocated bottles. Hunter translation, we like you and we want you coming back. MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price. This is the price the distillery recommends the bottle be sold for. What it really means. It's not mandatory, doesn't account for allocation scarcity, distributor requirements, or market demand. Hunter translation, the fairy tale price printed on the internet. Retail, definition, is any price a licensed store sets for a bottle. What it really means. It can be below, at, or above MSRP. Legal as long as state laws allow it. Hunter translation. This could be a win or a warning sign. Market and resale terms. Secondary. The unofficial resale market where individuals sell or trade bottles privately. What it really means. Usually illegal, depending on the state. Prices reflect true demand, not MSRP. Sets the real market value hunters reference. Hunter translation, what the bottle is actually worth today. Secondary value, the going rate a bottle sells for on the secondary market. What it really means. Fluctuates weekly, driven by hype, driven by drops, driven by social media. It's often used to justify retail markups as well. Hunter translation, screenshot this before it changes. Museum price, an extremely high retail price meant to display, not sell. What it really means. Bottle becomes shelf decor. Store hopes for tourist money, a desperate buyer, social media attention. Hunter translation, look with your eyes, not with your wallet. Market price, a retail price adjusted based on local demand and scarcity. What it really means. Can be reasonable, it can be absurd. Often below secondary, but above MSRP. Hunter translation, we checked Facebook before pricing this. Allocated. Limited quantity bottles. Distributors decide who gets and how many. So what it really means. Stores don't order freely. Volume, location, and sales history matter. Hunter translation, you can't just ask for this. Bourbon lottery, a system where customers enter for a chance to buy allocated bottles. What it really means. Used to avoid favoritism accusations, often tied to spending thresholds. Hunter translation, spend $500 to maybe buy a $60 bottle. Personally, we don't play these lotteries. Why? Because honestly, we've yet to see one that's actually quote unquote fair. I haven't seen one where there's no cap on how many entries one person can submit, or sometimes there's just no rules at all. And forget transparency. Nobody tells you how many allocated bottles exist or even which bottles are in play. Here at Bourbon Hunter Anonymous, our odds of snagging a unicorn bottle in those lotteries seemed, well, let's just say slimmer than a single barrel rye. Most of the ones we've seen felt more like the store trying to move product that you'd never touch otherwise. Buy one of these random bottles, and hey, maybe you get a shot at the good stuff. Bundle. requiring purchase of other items to access an allocated bottle. What it really means: helps stores move slow inventory, effectively raises bottle cost. Hunter translation: buy these 5 shelf turds to earn a Blanton's. Pay to play: spending money consistently to gain access to allocations. What it really means: completely legal, quietly universal, rarely advertised. Hunter translation: loyalty without a punch card. Fair price: a price that balances store survival plus customer goodwill. What it really means: not always MSRP, not always secondary. Hunter translation: I don't love it, but I get it. Flipper: someone who buys bottles at cost or at MSRP only to resell at those secondary prices. What it really means: hated publicly, relied on privately by some, but not all. Hunter translation: you hate them until maybe they have what you want. Here at Bourbon Hunter Anonymous, we don't support the aggressive truck chasing, flipper chasing side of bourbon. Around here, several local stores refuse to service to people who are rude to staff, out of state opportunists, or anyone who seems like they're only there to flip bottles. See, hunting isn't just about what you buy, it's about relationships. Are you a regular, or do stores only see you during O&D drop season? Over the years, we've taken the time to actually know the owners, managers, and staff. I check in like they're friends, not just people working in a liquor store. Case in point, one manager reached out after their son passed, needing guidance because my husband is a police officer. Another staff member asked me directly about veteran benefits because they knew I was a local veteran service officer. These aren't transactions, they're trust, respect, and community. We're not doing drive-bys with a fake, hi, how you doing? We've bought bottles, shared them in store with staff who wanted to try, and even brought hot chocolate to people waiting in line for major drops. Why? Not for us. It's about supporting the store and other hunters. We've made friends in the bourbon hunting community. They share amazing finds, and if they can, they'll grab an extra bottle for a fellow hunter. We celebrate each other's wins. When someone scores a 15-year pappy, we're excited for them, not bitter. This is a community, not a competition. And yes, I am a nerd. I track every dollar spent, tag every bottle with its name, purchase info, and a little memory from the day. When a bottle empties, the tags go on display in our basement bar. It's our way of cherishing the hunt and the memories. We don't flaunt our collection. It's not about that. It's about the community, the stories, the shared excitement. And that's what we're here for today. Now, a quick reminder, we live in Illinois. So to show you how this all works in practice, I'm going to give you an example of what it could potentially cost to open a liquor store, stock it, and then get allocated bottles. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to open a store here in Illinois. So licensing and setup in Illinois. A rough startup range between 150 to 350,000. So here's a breakdown ballpark estimate. Illinois liquor license, $1,000 to $3,000. Local license, whether it's a city, county, $1,000 to $5,000. Lease and build out, $50,000 to $150,000. This would be the point of system. It's a system where customers pay and the store tracks sales inventory and payments, the register plus the software. Then we're talking shelving, coolers, security, $20,000 to $50,000. And then our initial inventory, beer, wine, spirits, $60,000 to $120,000. So what would initial inventory look like? Spirits would equal to 45 to 55% of that inventory. Core movers, high volume, low drama. So you need these immediately. Tito's, Smirnoff, Absolute, Fireball, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Maker's Mark, Jose Cuervo, Patron, Captain Morgan, and Bacardi. Why? Distributors track velocity, not taste. I'd also want some bourbon shelf standards, non-allocated. I'd want to stock deep. Buffalo Trace if available, Elijah Craig Small Batch, Woodford Reserve, Knob Creek 9, Wild Turkey 101, Four Roses Small Batch, Old Forester, and I don't. There's several of them that I would be like, yeah, these are things that I'd want on my shelf. But those are the top picks for me. Why? It shows bourbon intent without needing allocation. Wine is going to be 25 to 35%. So 12 to 20 core brands, multiple price tiers where I'd want the bottles to cost between $7 to $10, $12 to $15, $18 to $25. And then, of course, box wine, because yes, it matters. Why? Wine is volume, margin, and distributor leverage. Then beer. This would equate to 15 to 25% of my stock. This would be domestic staples like Bud, Miller, Coors, imports like Modelo, Corona, crafts, locals. This would be rotating. Why? Daily foot traffic. I'd also want to do ready to drink, or sometimes it's just quickly referred to as RTDs, ready to drink, and trend items, small but strategic. So like High Noon, White Claw, Cutwater, Buzzballs. Why? Fast turns, distributor scorecard boosters. It's important because distributors don't care how nice your store is, only how much you buy after opening. What I will not have on opening day, and I know this, Pappy, BTAC, Stag, Colonel Taylor, Weller Foolproof. If someone asks on day one, what's my cue to say? I would say we're building towards it. So how Illinois actually works, it's an open license state. It's a 3-tier reality. I cannot buy bourbon directly from distilleries. I must buy through Southern Glazers, RNDC, Breakthrough, a few smaller houses. These distributors control allocation, not Buffalo Trace, not Heaven Hill, not you. So why do our distributors control allocation? Distributors allocate bourbon based on a store's total annual spend. So portfolio support would be the vodka, the wine, the RTDs, etc. Sales velocity, payment history, store location and volume, territory importance. Chicago is greater than rural. I would be rewarded by distilleries for moving volume, not for making bourbon fans happy. The hard truth, I could love bourbon, educate customers, price fairly, host tastings, and still get zero, none, nothing when it comes to allocated bottles if my distributor numbers aren't there. And then we have control states, ABC states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, and Ohio. So who controls their allocation? Their state. Pennsylvania, state-run stores for most spirits. Virginia, state controls wholesale. Private stores can sell retail, but follow state prices. North Carolina, some state stores, other licensed private retailers, state controls wholesale pricing. Ohio, state wholesale control, private retailer stores must buy from the state distributors. Key point, control state standardized price and allocation, unlike Illinois, where distributors and stores call the shots. How bottles are assigned in those states. The state buys directly from distributors. Prices are fixed, MSRP or near it. Bottles distributed by either lottery, random drops, or online. The result for hunters, fair pricing, brutal availability, lines, bots, lotteries. Control state reality line, fair prices, unfair odds. Control states remove store greed. Illinois allows store strategy. Neither system is better. They just hit and hurt differently. Allocated bourbon, the pain part, you don't order allocated bourbon. You earn the right to be considered. So what you must buy to even be seen by your distributor as somebody that should get allocated. Distributors look at a total annual spend, not bourbon passion. Typical Illinois reality, to start seeing low tier allocateds like Blanton's and Weller special reserves, I would be looking at $150,000 to $250,000 per year with one distributor. To see mid tier allocateds like EHT, Weller 107, I would be looking at $300,000 to $500,000 per year. To see high tier allocateds like Stag, EHT, BP, CYPB, I would be looking at $750,000 to $1 million per year, and I still would not be guaranteed anything. So that money would be spent on vodka, RTDs, wine, Fireball, stuff bourbon hunters do not brag about. So how much does it cost to get allocated answers? The short answer, you don't pay more per bottle, you pay more everywhere else. Example, you want a case of Blanton's, which is 6 bottles. Wholesale cost is $55 per bottle. What I would actually have to do is buy $10,000 to $30,000 in other inventory like Tito's, Smirnoff, Absolute, Captain Morgan, Bacardi, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, Fireball, Jim Beam, and wine, and ready-to-drink items like White Claw, High Noon, Cutwater, pre-mixed cocktails, and buzzballs, and beer like Bud, Coors, Miller, Corona, Modelo, and local crafts. I would have to move slow brands and hit sales targets. The bottle of Blanton's itself is cheap. The access to get the bottles of Blanton's in your store, in my store, is expensive. I don't pay extra for bourbon. I pay for access via other inventory that I have to buy and sell. Distributors measure total dollars spent plus the breadth of the portfolio. This is how stores unlock allocations like Blanton's or Weller's. So, if I open this hypothetical store, how long until I get allocated bourbon? This is a realistic timeline here in Illinois. Year 1, 0 hype bottles, maybe Weller special reserves, Blanton's 1 or 2 bottles once. Year 2, if volume is strong, maybe I'm seeing EHT small batch, Weller 107 1 or 2 bottles, maybe a Stag if I'm lucky. Year 3, if I'm a top account, regular Blanton drops, EHT, CYPB, special stuff like that, once in a blue moon. Rural versus metro matters. So Glen Carbon is greater than Southern Illinois towns. Chicago is greater than everyone. So why are there stores with lots of allocated? How do they get what they get? They likely have years of distributor history, high wine and spirits volume, consistent ordering, clean payment history, good location metrics. They didn't start lucky, they spent their way in. The brutal truth, to open a bourbon relevant liquor store in Illinois, startup is at least at a minimum $200,000. Annual distributor spend is between $300,000 to $700,000. Allocated access is going to take me about 1 to 3 years. The skills that would be required to do this, selling junk to fund gyms. You don't buy allocated bourbon as a store. You finance it. So how would I game the system with my store? I would front load spending. I'd buy big early in the year. Why? Because the scorecards with distributors reset annually. The overall effect that I would hope for is that I'd appear strong all year and get early allocations. So this means I would overbuy junk to unlock gyms. I'd intentionally buy slow vodka, excess RTDs, which is the ready to drinks, distributor wine that nobody asked for. Why? Because it boosts my portfolio and supports numbers. The effect, bourbon shows up later. Strategic displays, like fake enthusiasm. I'd build and display end caps, stack displays, shelf talkers. Why? Reps must report activation. Activation is basically the store is actively promoting our product. Reps have monthly or quarterly goals for each distributor brand. They must tell the distributor, Store X is supporting brand Y. Bottles are visible, front of shelf and selling. The distributor then uses this info to decide who gets more bottles, who stays on allocation list. And then there are some stores that fake activation. Some stores don't actually care about bourbon. They just put a Blanton's display on a small shelf, snap a picture for the rep, keep bottles in the back. Effect: distributor sees active support even if the store isn't really promoting the bourbon. The effect looks like support without actual passion. Activation is a reporting metric that makes distributors think a store is helping their product sell, whether or not anyone actually buys it. I would reorder more than just big one-time orders. I'd reorder small quantities often. Why? Velocity beats volume. The effect: distributor thinks this store moves product. I'd pay my invoices early. Some stores pay before due dates. Why? Because your payment history matters. The effect: they would think that my store is a safe account and I would be rewarded quietly, hopefully with those allocated bottles. I would do a controlled release, artificial scarcity. I would hold bottles in the back, release strategically. I'm not a fan of lotteries, but I'd find a promotion I felt comfortable with, like bundles or something that rewarded my regulars, like a bourbon club kind of way. Why? Keeps demand visible. Effect: reps think these bottles don't sit. The dirty secret? Some stores with bad pricing, poor selection, angry customers still get allocated bourbon because they're distributor darlings. In Illinois, the best bourbon doesn't go to the best store. It goes to the best scorecard. I suspect this is true elsewhere, if not everywhere. But this is just an example of if I were to open a liquor store and have the goal of being an allocated queen in the business. Example: if. Hey, bourbon hunters, before we wrap this up, make sure you've checked out my last two videos, Bourbon Market Crash or Correction, and Allocated Bourbon Explained. Trust me, you'll want that context, unless you enjoy chaos and confusion, which, let's face it, it's part of hunting bourbon too. So what did we cover today? We broke down all the bourbon lingo you've been hearing, but maybe not fully understanding. OND, October, November, December, the season when hunters come out of the woodwork, beginners, veterans, and that one guy you know who only appears when Pappy drops. Unicorn bottles at cost, MSRP, retail, all the prices, terms, and sneaky tricks stores use. Translation: just because it's written on a tag doesn't mean it's fair or what it costs to you. Secondary markets, museum prices, pay-to-pay, bundles, all the stuff that either makes you laugh, cry, or both. We also got real about hunting ethics. Personally, we don't enter unfair lotteries. We support local stores, not flippers. We share the love of other hunters because the bourbon community is bigger than any one of us. And yes, we track every bottle with spreadsheets, receipts, and memories. Nerd level maximum. Then we went deep into Illinois reality. Opening a store costs $150,000 to $350,000. You spend hundreds of thousands more supporting distributors across vodka, wine, RTDs, beers before you even see your first allocated bourbon. Distributors reward scorecards, not love for bourbon. Volume, variety, payment history, and location matter more than passion. Real talk. You don't buy allocated bourbon. You finance access to it. This is what your liquor stores are seeing. And if I were opening my own store to game the system, oh, you'd see strategies like front-loading spending, overbuying junk inventory, strategic displays, reordering often, paying invoices early, controlled releases, all to make distributors think this store moves product. Give them the allocations. Brutal truth: bad stores can still get allocations if they play the game right. Illinois is a 3-tier reality, and honestly, that probably holds in a lot of other states too. So here's a takeaway for all hunters out there. Build relationships, not just spreadsheets. Support your local stores and fellow hunters. Track what you can, enjoy the journey, and celebrate when someone else scores the pappy, because this hobby is about community, not competition. If you like this breakdown, or even if you just enjoy the stories about hot chocolate and OND lines, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. More Bourbon Hunter education, humor, and honesty is coming your way. Remember, it's not just about the bourbon you get. It's about the hunt, the friends, and the stories you collect along the way. Stay patient, stay smart, and stay hydrated with bourbon, of course.